Let's dive into a story that starts with a simple cloak, a really humble man, and a message that would literally reshape the spiritual landscape of an entire continent. It's an incredible piece of history, and it all kicks off with a single, absolutely astonishing number.
20 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how many people travel to one single basilica in Mexico City every single year. That makes it one of the most visited pilgrimage sites on the entire planet, and they all come to see one specific thing.
So, what is it? What draws this kind of crowd to a nearly 500-year-old piece of fabric? I mean, really? That's the mystery we're going to unpack today. The story behind this cloak, or tilma, and the incredible image of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Okay, to really get what makes this so miraculous, we have to rewind the clock. Our story doesn't begin in some peaceful, quiet time. No, it starts in a period of huge crisis and cultural collision. Mexico, 1531. You have to understand, this was a time of deep, deep trauma. It's just 10 years after the Spanish conquest, and for the indigenous peoples of Mexico, their entire world had been shattered. Their culture, their faith, everything they knew had just collapsed. It was replaced by a foreign power, a foreign religion, and, devastating new diseases. The air was thick with distrust and despair. And right in the middle of all this steps our protagonist. And he wasn't a king, or a warrior, or some powerful priest. He was Juan Diego Cuauhtlac, a humble 57-year-old indigenous man, a recent convert to Christianity who was just trying to get by in this broken world. And this, right here, is where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The main events of this whole story happen over just 4 days, starting on this little hill right outside what we now know as Mexico City.
So on December 9th, Juan Diego sees this radiant woman on Tepeyac Hill. And this is so important. She speaks to him in his own language, Nahuatl. She tells him she is the mother of the true God and has a simple request: build a church on this very spot. So Juan Diego, he does what he's told. He goes to the bishop who, is pretty skeptical. I mean, wouldn't you be? He asks for a sign, some proof, and the lady promises she'll provide one.
But, life happens. The story doesn't just go in a straight line from there. Right when a sign is promised, a very real, very human crisis gets in the way, and it puts Juan Diego's new mission to the test. Juan Diego actually misses his next meeting, and why? Because his uncle, who he loves dearly, is dying. So he spends the whole day taking care of him, totally focused on his family. It's this powerful, relatable moment, right? He's torn between this incredible divine appointment and his duty to his family.
This all leads up to the climax on December 12th. Juan Diego is rushing to find a priest for his dying uncle, and he even tries to go a different way to avoid the hill. But the lady meets him anyway. And what happens next? Well, it's the heart of the whole story.
He's full of fear and sorrow, and she meets him with these words. Just incredible. She doesn't judge him for missing their meeting. She speaks to him with this deep motherly love, reassuring him that it's all going to be okay. This is such a pivotal moment.
So first, she tells him, don't worry, your uncle is already cured. Then she gives him this impossible task. Go to the top of that barren, frosty hill and gather flowers. And up there, he finds these beautiful Castilian roses, flowers that shouldn't be there, totally out of season, and not even from Mexico. He gathers them up in his cloak, his tilma, and when he gets to the bishop and opens it up, the roses fall out, revealing the impossible, a perfect image of the lady, printed right on the fabric. The bishop, of course, fell to his knees, and the story could have ended right there. But in a lot of ways, this is where the mystery was just getting started. The tilma itself has become this object of intense study, both scientifically and symbolically. And this is where things get really wild. Get this, scientific studies have found no evidence of paint or dye or even any brushstrokes. The image seems to almost float just above the fibers. And the cloth itself is made of a coarse cactus fiber that should have just fallen apart within like 20 years, but it didn't.
It's been nearly 500 years. 500. This fragile organic cloth has survived the humidity of Mexico City, an accidental acid spill, and even a bomb attack in 1921. A bomb destroyed the altar right next to it, but the tilma was completely unharmed. Its survival alone is it's considered a miracle.
But okay, beyond the physical stuff, the image was a message. For the Nahuatl people, it was like a picture book, a story they could read. The stars on her mantle, They perfectly match the constellations from that exact night in 1531. The black sash she's wearing, that was an Aztec symbol for pregnancy. She's standing in front of the sun and on the moon, showing she was greater than their gods, but her head is bowed, showing she herself is not God. And her face, a mix of indigenous and Spanish features, was like a prophecy of a new, unified people.
So the impact of all this wasn't just some abstract idea. It was historical and it was immediate. It totally changed the direction of the entire continent.
9 million. In the 10 years after this happened, an estimated 9 million indigenous people chose to convert to Christianity. Think about that. This wasn't a conversion by the sword. It was from a message of love, delivered in a language they could understand.
Because of this massive impact, she became known as the Empress of the Americas. She wasn't seen as some foreign figure being forced on them. She was seen as a mother who belonged to them, a mother for the people of the Americas, who offered healing and a new identity in a time of so much division.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. The story of Guadalupe is this powerful message that every single person has dignity, that culture matters and should be respected, and that you can find hope even when things seem completely desperate.
So we end up right back where we started. Whether you look at this as history, as faith, or as a cultural phenomenon, the story of Juan Diego's tilma leaves us all with this huge question. How can a single message of hope, delivered to one of the humblest people, actually go on to change the heart of an entire continent? It's something to think about.